He just bought a market for $1 because all the stores were doing terrible. And he said there was about $800,000 a year. And he goes, I went out and he goes, I toured the sites, and he said, I realized that every one of the shops needed to be cleaned. They all needed to be refreshed.
How many stores?
I think it was eight or 10 stores. And he said, he goes, you know what? He goes, I looked at the employees and I hung out at each shop for a couple of weeks, and he was like, I started eliminating the toxic employees. And he goes, I went out and I bought all new uniforms and all new shoes for all the employees. And I thought that was the most interesting component of the puzzle. And he said, I made them feel proud of where they worked, proud of how they looked. And he goes, and that translated into larger sales for the customers. And he goes, within 6 months, I was $800,000 positive.
Need a partner who sees the big picture? Forza Management. We're not just property managers, we're strategic partners. Navigating the complex world of commercial real estate can be daunting. That's where Forza Management comes in. Forza Management provides services in the mountain and desert states and covers all types of asset classes, including retail, industrial, and office. Our team of experts delivers exceptional property management services, namely property maintenance, lease administration, and annual CAM reconciliations. When looking at your next property, check out our website at forzacommercial.com. Forza Management, maximizing your investment and minimizing your stress.
Good to be back here at the Dirt Dog Podcast Studio, and today we have Dan Batty, Chief Development Officer with Swig, joining us.
Yes, sir. Good to be here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Dan, we met a couple of years ago when you were at Dutch Bros.
I did. Yeah. I had a pretty storied career there for about 5-6 years. And I thought I would try to do a repeat here at Swig. So we'll see how it goes.
I was going to say, in 5 or 6 years at Dutch Bros, during the time that you were there, you know how many stores were opened approximately?
Yeah. So when I started, we had 273 shops. We were opening about 18 a year. And when I left 4 months ago, we were on track to open about 160 this year. And we'll be well over 1,000.
And what was your role at Dutch Bros?
I was a vice president of design and construction.
So what is it like taking a concept that is, you said 18 stores a year?
Yeah.
So you went from growing 18 stores a year to 10 times in that growth, 180 stores a year.
Yes.
What's it like to do that?
It's a headache, but no, it's actually, it's pretty exciting. If you have the right team with you, you know, it's amazing what you can accomplish. We were very fortunate. When I started with the brand, we had 5 people on our team, and we just kept adding bodies as the needs, as it was required. And we just, we're very purposeful in what we're doing. We actually increased the size of the building from, I think it was about 650 square feet to about 990 to squeeze all the new equipment in there and things over that time. We would review the plans every 6 months or so. I worked really closely with the real estate team, which is Aaron Harris, which you and I know very, very well. But we just built out an incredible team. But when I finally left, I had 22 people reporting to me.
It's good. Nice. So you went from 5 people up to 22.
To 22, yeah. And so, and again, just top-notch people. I think what helped us deliver is it wasn't about the individual. Truly, it was truly about the team and the brand. And we worked so cohesively together and helped each other out. There's no way that you can grow at that click with a dissent happening. And it doesn't mean that there weren't challenges, but at the same time, I mean, everybody seriously just worked so well and so closely together. We were just able to crush it.
Yeah. Here it is. You build the structure, right? And you build the stick frame of the building, and you put everything together, you make it all pretty inside, and then you put a membrane roof over the top. And those membrane roofs, as we all know, are gold.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They block all the moisture out. And then you get up on top of a Dutch Bros roof, and there's like 37 penetrations in a 990 square foot area. And kind of gives you a sense of anxiety as the owner of the building. Sure, you probably.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. Just one of the wild components, I guess, to think about when you're building with such a small footprint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely a challenge, but it's also like an ice skating rink up there in the right temperature. So it's a lot of fun. So.
Are there other things that you run into, challenges like that when you're designing a building with a footprint that small?
Listen, you're trying to put a full operating kitchen inside of 1,000 square feet. I mean, that is just honestly the hardest piece of the puzzle. And you got to figure, a good portion of that is your walk-in cooler. So, it's trying to maneuver. And you listen, in this business, I work for McDonald's, I work for Carl's Jr., Dunkin' Brands. It's all about the number of steps you take on the operational side. So it's trying to marry the operational efficiencies with the build is actually extremely hard. It's about where you're reaching. Are you stooping? Are you reaching higher? Are you moving left or right? And so just trying to find that balance is honestly the hardest piece of the puzzle. But I think they did a pretty good job at Dutch Bros, and we're tweaking that right now at Swig. So it's really funny. Aaron Harris and I worked really closely together on that in the beginning, and we would call each other at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And Aaron, he loves late night conversations.
Oh yeah.
My phone would ring and I'd pick it up and he goes, "Hey, I was thinking about this." And we would, kind of just talk about the ins and outs of all the advantages or disadvantages of modular. We settled on using a firm out of Florida, who was the largest rallies checkers modular manufacturer in the country. So the idea behind modular is fantastic. I think
I was going to say, is for my social media stuff, I don't think there's a single subject that people like to talk about more.
Yeah. And every brand's tried it, and every brand has walked away from it. So it's I think there's something there. I don't think it's just been perfected enough. For us at Dutch Bros, the biggest component was, having the crawl space underneath it, having the, not have it not set on a slab, which I think is probably the way that modular needs to be done. Thinking about going forward, but having these big stem walls, there's a lot of moisture down below. There's all these problems, especially if you're in. We had a situation in Texas where we are kind of in a floodplain, and all the water just emptied all underneath our building. We had to pump it out. Our pump crashed, and so the water just sat down there stagnant. They couldn't figure out why the floor was lifting on the inside. You have water coming up, from down below. If you're in a Dutch Bros, you're in a Swig, there's water all over. There's ice being slung all over the place. And so it just destroyed the modular buildings. They were a maintenance nightmare. So I think that from that perspective, for the restaurant type of fast casual that we're in, I think it's a really bad idea. But I still think there's something there. I'd be willing to visit it in the next 3-4 years again, but I'm not truly convinced it's the right way to go.
And why do you build modular with stem wall and a crawl space?
I honestly, that is a question that I struggled with the manufacturers. We would go round and round about that conversation. There is a company in Las Vegas, Extreme Cubes, and they're actually doing that now. They're actually putting it on a slab. So
a little more coordination there.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, a little more, definitely.
Yeah, because you have a local site, you still need a local general contractor that's going to come out and it's going to do all of your site work. He's going to pour that slab, do any of the under slab, plumbing, etc. Right? So you got to coordinate that, I guess, a little tighter.
You do.
Yeah.
And honestly, general contractors, they don't, it's not something that they're benefiting from because somebody else is building the building. That's where they're making their profit. And so, they've got to be buttoned down. And so they're coming in and saying, "Hey, we're just doing site work, putting in stem walls, some pylons. And if those things are off, they're going to pay the price." Right. So, and we've had it where we've had pops in the floor, where we've had to jack up both sides of the building or things of that nature. We actually had a pylon when I was leaving in Texas that was sinking. So the whole modular building, because it comes in 3 pieces, the whole modular building was like a V. I guess great for if there's a 4-seat right in the middle, but
just because of a bad slab,
just a bad pylon. Middle.
Wow.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So, like I said, there's something there, but it's just not. I don't think it's quite dialed in yet.
I don't think I understood when we did our first couple of modulars that, of course, you insisted on that we do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
It is my fault. Always was.
I don't think I quite understood. We were going into it, and you guys were pretty gung ho on them, and we said, "Great, sounds good." I don't think I understood that we would have basically a second set of architects and engineers attached to it, because you have the architects and engineers modular group, and then you have those site stuff. And then I also definitely did not understand that we had an entirely different approval process, state level, right? And is that true with most states? Do most states, like the one we did was in Idaho or Ellis Falls, and the state of Idaho Department of Housing actually stabs your plans on your prefab.
Yeah, and that's pretty standard.
That's standard.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are. It's really interesting. They say there's modular friendly states, and then there's other states that obviously don't want modular there. But some of the modular friendly states are the ones that you have to go through the housing, the federal housing or state housing department. And the issue is the city or jurisdictions don't like that oversight, because basically they're overriding the jurisdiction of the city. So the city a lot of times will tack on, hey, we want some exterior finishes on there that are maybe a little over the top to kind of like just make their point perfectly clear. So but listen, it's just part of the game. So I will say this: it's really funny when you're talking about just the coordination between the manufacturer's architect and our architects. My dream was just to have a developer come in and just do everything, because the level of coordination that's required is it's very time consuming. There was a cost savings when we first started doing it. There was about $100,000 cost savings and about 21-day savings on the build time. And so in the fast casual business, you look at obviously 21 days if you're open sooner is generating X number of dollars in sales. It's actually benefiting us a lot greater than just a normal build time. So we were pulling all those components together, trying to say, hey, look, this is a lot better deal. We're going to actually generate about $150,000 in savings or $200,000 in savings, depending on where it's at. And that worked for probably the first 5 out of 28.
Yes.
And then it just all went sideways.
Yeah.
So, like I said, but at that point, you're so far down the pipe to go back and pull all those modulars, say, we're not going to build modules. We already had signed agreements to manufacture the modulars. We already had the sites laid out, and everything was in plan review. So we just kind of rolled with it, but when those 28 were done, we were pretty much toast.
Yeah.
So
yeah, interesting. Such a fun buzzword, such a fun phrase to use at cocktail parties, and then you go to implement it in life. It is a full context boarding thing. Okay, so 5 years at Dutch.
Yes.
And then where were you before that?
Before then, I was at Dunkin' Brands, and so I was part of the team that was rolling out the West Coast. They had been in the West many years earlier, and they didn't do that well, but so they kind of came back, and they did okay. They were doing okay, and then I left. So no, the timing was good for me to leave at the moment. But they actually have several strong franchisees for Dunkin' out in the West now, but they were still trying to just figure it out.
That brand's going through a real resurgence right now. I think you see a lot of power play.
Oh yeah,
on the franchise side.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Listen, if you were to compare Starbucks to Dunkin' Brands, Dunkin' Brands is on every corner, down every street on the East Coast. It's pretty amazing. If you've been out there, I've been driving down literally a country road, and there'll be a Dunkin' Donuts in the middle of nowhere in Boston. But no, it's a great brand. Like I said, it wasn't translating well on the West Coast. I was actually, at the time I was working there, I was trying to get them to change their color scheme and do some different things. I just don't think it was translating out here. But again, they've come back and they have a big resurgence right now, and they're doing pretty well. Yeah. But I think coffee is one of those things that drives a lot of sales. You look at the success of Dutch Bros. Starbucks is struggling a little bit right now. I think it's a cultural piece, quite honestly. But they'll get their footing again and probably come back pretty strong. I think they just need to find their way.
So you can't count any chain with over 40,000 stores out by any means.
No way.
Yeah, they'll figure that. Plus, it's also amazing. It blows my mind. Everywhere you go, they serve Starbucks coffee.
Yeah.
Convention halls, hotels. Literally everywhere, right? And how long were you at Dunkin'?
Just a little over 2 years.
Okay. So and then before then?
I was with Carl's Jr.
Okay.
For about 12 years.
Yeah.
So that was a great ride.
Yeah.
It was a funny story. I actually started with McDonald's. So let me digress. So I'll go really far back.
Sure.
My father was a contractor. I told my father, I will never work in construction. And I will never be as fat as you are. I'm twice as fat as my dad, and I've worked in construction my whole life.
Amazing.
So don't disrespect your parents. But anyway, no, my dad's an amazing man, and ran an incredible business. My brother ended up taking it over. But I went to work for a civil engineering firm out of college and worked there for several years. An opportunity came up at a waste hauling company, all places. Went to work at a waste hauling company, and I was there about 6 years. And a friend of mine reached out that was at McDonald's, says, hey, you got to come over here and check this out. So I went to McDonald's. That started my my career.
So you went from the waste hauling company straight to work for McDonald's.
Yes.
And what were you doing at McDonald's?
A construction manager.
I mean, literally the gold standard in the entire drive-through food industry.
Yeah, it was amazing. Fortunately, I had enough of the civil engineering background. I think that was appealing to them.
What a great job, right?
Yeah. So, and it's really interesting. When I went to work with a civil engineering firm, I started out in running blueprints, and that's in the old days when they had ammonia, and so I'm probably a little bit, a little bit whacked out because of that. But no, it was a great job. I went from doing that to actually learning design work, and was running projects. Was doing government relations for the brand. I did that for a few years, and so I don't know how I ended up at the waste hauling company, but it was a great gig for the time being.
But you went to McDonald's, and then did you follow your boss from McDonald's over to Carl's?
I did.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
And had a little bit longer run there.
So do you know Don Eichler?
Yes.
So Don Eichler is about 10 years younger than I am. And I tell everybody he's one of my mentors. He's actually a pretty incredible human being, just on a personal and professional level. He did amazing things at McDonald's, amazing thing at Carl's Jr., and now he's been at Chick-fil-A for many years. So really, really good human being. His boss is a good friend of mine. He gets upset when I say that about Don, but no, he's a good man. But he actually paved the way for me to get to where I am today, quite honestly. And him and I talk probably every about 6 weeks or so. Usually I run into a problem, and I'm like, he's one of the first people I call, because he's pretty much just seen it and done it.
So that time period in the early mid 2000s that you were at Carl's, you and Don were kind of reformatting the brand, the layout changed, and the prototype changed, right? There was a lot of changes there.
No, we didn't. It was a pretty amazing time to be at the brand.
Yeah.
And we did. We had a big resurgence. Some pretty interesting commercials at the time.
Yeah.
Which just kind of drove the brand. But I can tell you some funny stories about being yelled at on planes and things. But I'd say, look, I just work in development. I'm in construction development. I don't touch the media. So
just those big drippy sandwiches. Those ones, I touch those. That's right.
So no, but it was a great time for the brand, and it actually the franchise model was just kicking in the high speed there. There's a story I always tell, just because to me it kind of encompasses how you can take a poor performing store and turn it into something different. And I was talking with a franchisee who had just bought. I'm sure I can talk about this. It's been many years. He just bought a market for $1 because all the stores were doing terrible. And he said they're losing about $800,000 a year. And he goes, I went out and he goes, I toured the sites, and he said, I realized that every one of the shops needed to be cleaned. They all needed to be refreshed.
How many stores?
I think it was eight or 10 stores. And he said, he goes, you know what? He goes, I looked at the employees, and I hung out at each shop for a couple of weeks, and he was like, I started eliminating the toxic employees. And he goes, I went out and I bought all new uniforms and all new shoes for all the employees. And I thought that was the most interesting component of the puzzle. And he said, I made them feel proud of where they worked, proud of how they looked. And he goes, and that translated into larger sales for the customers. And he goes, within 6 months, I was $800,000 positive. And so you just realize it's the small wins like that, and especially in our business, it's the small wins that just propel a brand or propel the ability to continue forward and thrive in the construction industry or development industry. It's a really tough business, and you and I can attest to that. But there's so many great things at the end of the day, and you're truly transforming lives. I mean, I think developers get a bad name. People go, oh, you're tearing up raw resources or whatever the argument is. We truly change lives in this business, and I think we truly allow people to thrive and be employed, and we change the landscape of the areas that we live in. It's truly one of the most rewarding businesses I've ever been attached with in my life. So I thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah, wild.
Well, he said he realized, because I walked in, he goes, I was just watching people walk around. He goes, when they had Crocs on, they had, all these different types of shoes. And he goes, mostly I was thinking they're probably going to slip. But he said, honestly, he goes, the thing is they're probably wearing shoes that were handed down or whatever. And he goes, I want to make sure that everybody felt a sense of pride. So
let's talk about and pivot for a minute to what you're doing currently, right? So you've stepped into a drink brand, another drink brand,
yes,
right? Slightly different.
Yeah.
Tell us just top down, what is the mission of Swig? How would you describe Swig? If you were...
Yeah, quite honestly, I mean, we are on the cutting edge of a completely new market for drinks. I think we're leading, we're kind of just leading the market in understanding the amazing things you can do with soda. There's an old Laverne and Shirley episode. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but she would say that she would pour cream into her soda, and everybody would go, "Cream into your soda." And I'd seen that, probably I'll be dating myself, but probably 20 years ago. And it's really interesting because what we're doing with the soda brand as a whole is game changing. And I mean, it is really, I think the great, it's kind of a new component for beverages. Listen, Sonic has done a great job at it for years. And that's kind of how the whole business started with Nicole Tanner. She would love to go to Sonic, but the lines were always too long. And she worked on a farm. She was like, look, I had to get my drink and I wanted to get back to work. And later in life, her and her husband said, hey, why don't we start our own concept called Swig? And it was in St. George, Utah, and it was one shop, and it just started slowly growing to popularity. And as a result, I mean, we're at 82 locations today, but it's literally, it's a brand new, we're literally creating a brand new market for drinks in the business space, in the, fast casual space. So, and the runway's big. So we run a lot of data and analysis on it. And the great thing is we're starting to gain a lot of traction. I had 12 people reach out last week for deals across the country.
Franchisees?
No, I'm brokers.
Brokers.
Yeah, brokers. Right now we have I think we have about 30 franchisees, but we're in about 14 states.
You're in 14 now.
Yes. Well, we're developing 14 right now. Wow. So our corporate model is Utah, Arizona, Oklahoma, Texas, and then we have Indiana, Tennessee, parts of Florida, Ohio, things of that nature. So you're going to start seeing more and more of these come online. We'll probably finish out the year, like I said, with about 82 shops on the corporate side, about 81 shops on the corporate side, and probably about 25 on the franchise side this year. And so we see those numbers just growing exponentially over the years to come.
You're breaking 100 this year. What do you think you'll open next year?
Corporately, listen, we're slow walking a little bit. We are a new brand in a lot of ways. I mean, it's a startup. And so we're kind of going back and reevaluating what our processes are, how it is we're going to grow the brand, who our target audience is. We have a pretty good idea, but we don't have it completely dialed in. But we're almost there. We're just on the cusp. And then we're going to probably hit it a little harder in 2026, but we're happy with about 30 corporate builds next year. So just respectable. Yeah. So it's, it's a little over 30%, about 40% of our, my math's terrible. Help me out here. So I think it's like 40, it's like 41, 42%.
It's one every other week.
Yeah, exactly.
One every other week. Those are good numbers. Those are great numbers. Tell us about what is a perfect site for Swig right now. What would be like the far corner of paradise and desire?
Yeah, always Main to Main, right? We want to be on Main to Main, but listen, we build a lot of end caps, and we've been pretty successful with that. Usually, the square foot of our building is about 970 square feet, but it's hard to find an end cap that's 970 square feet. So we end up getting larger end caps of up to 1,800 square feet. But we're also looking into doing some more ground ups. They've done ground ups in the past, but they were modular, and we're now starting to have those maintenance issues on the modular buildings that we had at Dutch Rose. So it's a little humorous to me, but and also frustrating. but no, we're looking at like a third of an acre. Carve outs are great. We've done quite a few carve outs in the Texas market right now.
Drive-through required.
Yeah, drive-through required. Yeah, 100%. We're 100% drive-through. We do have some dining areas, but they're very small, and so maybe 10 people.
Yeah.
So that's just not our business. It's very similar to Dutch Rose. So
Is there anything unique, water requirement, sewer requirement, et cetera? The buildings run on gas, electric?
Yeah. So right now it's gas and electric. We're probably going to go all electric, and just like the rest of the country is probably going that direction. So, but fortunately, the equipment piece is a lot different than it was at Dutch Bros. It's probably about a third of the cost, and it's a little easier to manage on the water side. We just use filter systems. We had an RO system, reverse osmosis system at Dutch Bros, which was interesting. But we're able to kind of manage the Coke products and things like that using just the normal filters that they use in all the stores across the country: Burger King's, Carl's, McDonald's, things like that. I mean, our average volume is about it's a little over $1 million right now. So we're doing great. The margins are good. We're doing great, but I mean, we want to up those obviously quite a bit, because we're looking at the next event, which probably a few years down the line. So we're talking about that as a brand and kind of where it is we want to go and how we want to do that. Listen, part of the reason we have a lot of brokers and things reaching out to our brand right now is we are different. We are creating a new space, and when they're building out shopping centers and things of that nature, they're looking around going, "Hey, who could we have in here that's unique, that's going to draw a different type of customer, a new customer?" And we're at the top of the list. A lot of it is there's so many coffee concepts out there. There's Dutch Bros, Starbucks, Seven Brew, Dunkin' brands. Not that those are tired brands by any means, but they're brands that everybody's seeing day in and day out. People are looking for something different, and I think that Swig is meeting that need. So it's actually it's really exciting to be a part of it. I've been here 4 months, and I'm working long hours, but it's been an education for me, and working with a lot of great people. So it's a lot of fun.
At Swig, does it matter if you're on the AM or PM side?
I love to say it doesn't matter. Listen, we do the majority of our sales between about 12 and 5.
Also 5.
Yeah. So and a lot of times it's after school. Moms are coming through with their kids. Hey, what did you like? We like Swig. And if you're there in the afternoons, I mean, it's a mom with a car full of kids coming through and getting drinks for their kids. We do have my good buddy, 72 years old. He says, I drink 6 sodas a day. He goes, I'm a Swig, for 3 of those sodas. So everybody's got their vice, right? So
he's really maxing that.
He's maxing it out, but you know what? He's in amazing shape. So I don't know if it's just good genetics or what. So, but I might go on the all soda diet here pretty quick. But no, he's but it is. I mean, we have some amazingly loyal customers. And listen, the one thing that Dutch Bros, when I was there, they were able to capture the culture of the brand, right, and of the business, and their care for people and their care for the community. Swig has that nailed down. I mean, Nicole Tanner is a breast cancer survivor, and so we actually have a program. It's called Save the Cups, and what it is when she was struggling through her battle with breast cancer, somebody came and paid all her bills. They said, "Look, you worry about getting better. Don't worry about the bills," and they wrote a check to cover all our medical expenses. And so I get chills, but we actually do that for people every year, and that's growing. I mean, it's pretty much in line. What I thoroughly enjoy about the brand, it's very much aligned to and similar to what Dutch Bros is trying to do with ALS and Drink One for Dane. I mean, they raised quite a bit of money. I think it's over $5 million for ALS research, plus. And I mean, we're on track. We're not quite that high, but we've written some pretty big checks and changed a lot of people's lives. And it's great to be a part of a company that does that. I think it's bigger than business sometimes. We're all human beings. We're all on this planet trying to do the best we can. And we all like to make money. I'd be lying if I said differently, but at the end of the day, I think it's what you do and how you do that makes a difference.
How frequently do you see Nicole in the office?
Honestly, a minimum every other week. Yeah, she is very involved in the business. So she's still a minority shareholder in the business, but her influence is felt all throughout the business. It's interesting. She will be driving down the street and she'll see a long line at the shop, and she'll pull her car into the center and go help serve drinks. That's just who she is. She can't get away from it. She loves the business.
That's the best part about every founder, right? It's that passion, it's that drive.
And that's one thing I was going to add. Larry H. Miller, they've been an amazing partner, extremely supportive of the brand. And their influence just in the Utah area with, their philanthropy and things of that nature. They are such an amazing organization to align with just for that reason alone. They get it at a little higher level than just the business perspective. So,
Well, I think that goes back to save the cups, right?
yeah.
So 12 to 5 is a peak time. Is there a drink that's like the go-to drink more than others?
Yeah, you know what? It changes because obviously we're taking drinks all the time. But the founder, it's really interesting, which is Nicole's drink, which is a Dr. Pepper. Nicole, if you're watching this and I get this wrong, please forgive me. But it's Dr. Pepper, vanilla cream, and
That's what I have right
is that what you have right now? Are you checking me?
I sub Coke Zero. But I think it is
And
cream, right?
cream and lime.
Yeah, there you go. It's delicious.
Yeah.
So-
So it's amazing.
Yeah, there's it.
So, and the drinks are amazing. Who would have thought? And we don't have just soda drinks. We have we call them refreshers and things of that nature. We also have a energy drink. But it's what they're trying to do with drinks in general is cutting edge.
Not that you need to give away any trade secrets, but since we're here on the Dirt Dog Pod, I got to at least ask.
Yes.
Is there any new products, any new product lines coming in down the?
Yeah, you know what? We actually just launched again, and I apologize for not having. I should have had this all written down, but we actually just launched some new drinks for the holidays, and they have some incredible things like almond roca and things of that in them that probably blow your mind. They're blended drinks, but no, we're constantly. That's something that's high on the chart. We every Wednesday we try new cookies. In our office, it's horrible, but I enjoy being there on Wednesdays. And then we're constantly trying new drinks. So
at the corporate office, you guys are trying out different cookie.
we're trying the product. That's right.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
Got to do that. So no, but it's a good time. So
And do they typically do all these stores? So all 12 states where you're open and operating are all of the baked goods coming from one commissary?
they're not at this time, but they will shortly.
Yeah. What are you seeing as the biggest challenges? They're not going to economic stress, capital stress, right?
Yeah. No, it's definitely. Listen, it's trying to explain to my CFO why we're not going to have a payback in 3 years, right? That's kind of what we're shooting for as a brand. Listen, the market is tough out there. I've experienced this. I've been in this business for 25 years. The costs of goods are so high. The cost of labor is so high. It's just hard to make deals pencil. And I know you're experiencing that yourself. So, one of the ways we're countering that is, like I said, we're trying to, get with developers that are building out centers that will have an end cap with a drive-through. That's the least financial cost that we can manage for our brand. So the ground ups, we have 12 ground ups this next year. The metrics are tough. They're going to be tight. So, we're trying to figure out what is going to work for our brand, as we move forward. And like I said, as we, appeal to more and more people, we're not sure if we're going to continue franchising. Although we're franchising, we have great franchise partners now. We just don't know where that's going to go in the future. It could be something we do more of, do less of. We're just kind of making that determination right now. No doubt. Yeah. One of the things too, and I think we talk a little bit about it. I was doing the carve outs in front of the. There's a lot of these brands like H-E-B and things like that. These huge parking lots. We're such a small building. We're okay being kind of tucked off into a corner, so we're not blocking the visibility to the H-E-B. But those kind of seem to be some of the sites that are gaining more traction.
Well, a third of an acre is small too.
Small.
Yeah, your impact is low, right?
Yeah. And so it's a blessing and a curse. It's hard to find a third of an acre to build on.
Yeah.
Or developers don't give up a third of an acre for you to build on, because if you ever leave, what are they going to do with it? That's their concern. But it also provides some for unique opportunities to be maybe in some areas where it's a great thoroughfare, and all they have is a third of an acre because they butted right up against it on both sides, and a family owns a third of an acre, so it's a long, narrow piece of property that we won't make it work. So.
Yeah. And you went from McDonald's to Carl's Jr. to Dunkin', all of which are really great brands, they're all household name brands.
No doubt.
What's it like going from that to then Dutch and now kind of a two here with Swig, where you've kind of gone from this stable environment of know what to expect and you know what your schedule looks like, you know what you need to get done, to, I guess, just everything, right?
Yeah. No, it's a great question. That kind of goes back to that little instability from feeding the plans through the through the machine. But no. Listen, McDonald's is it, right? I mean, they have everything nailed down to such a deep level. It was the best place to start, because I still carry a lot of what I learned from McDonald's with me to this day. Taking that and moving it to Carl's Jr. in its heyday when we were building like crazy, a lot of that was able to translate to Carl's Jr. They were public at the time that I went to work for them. They went private and it sold like 3 times during my tenure there. It really was a little bit of a mess in some regards, but it helped me learn a lot about the business side of what I was doing, not just the development side. From there, I went to Dunkin' Brands, and Dunkin' again. They were just kind of reaching out to the West Coast, trying to start that flame again. But going to Dutch Bros, quite honestly, and I said Aaron's name earlier. I had a relationship with Aaron. One of the pieces I didn't tell you is I left Carl's Jr. and I sold signs for a year. Hated it so much I went back to Carl's. Made a lot of money. That is one of the hardest jobs and one of the worst experiences of my life.
These like monument signs, pylon signs?
Yeah, everything. Yeah, building signs, everything. So, but worked for a great gentleman, and he convinced me it was the best decision of my life. It was the worst decision of my life, but I don't blame him. I blame myself. But anyway, it was. But it helped me again. It's all those pieces of the puzzle you learn along the way. So it's actually benefited me throughout my career. But but during that 10 years selling signs, I actually met Aaron. So him and I have just kept a relationship going, and he would always say, "Hey, we're going to work together. We're going to work together." He went to work for Dutch Bros as a consultant, and called me, and he goes, "Hey, you need to check this company out." And so I flew up. I interviewed with the founder, Travis Boersma, and his brother-in-law, Brian Maxwell. 2 amazing people. Travis literally has such a passion for what he's doing. I'm like, this is how a business needs to be run. Yeah, we kind of just walked through business as a whole. There was discussion around development and real estate, but it was just his passion on the business and what he was trying to do and accomplish. And the business, he lost his brother to ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and the business was a testament to his brother's vision. And that just struck me. I have a close relationship with my brothers, and I wanted to be in a family-owned and operated business. I thrive in that environment. And so that journey was incredible. And then having the opportunity to stand alongside him as the company went public and things of that nature, it benefited me to a level I can't even tell you and could never imagine. But you realize that, money's a great thing. It's not a driver, right? Driver is in what you're doing every day. And to leave Dutch Bros to come to Swig, I kind of hit a point where I was doing the same thing over and over and over again. I could have stayed there over the next 10, 15 years, had a hugely successful career, grown with the business. I loved working there. They enjoyed having me there. When I left, it was really hard. It was like leaving family. And it was difficult to explain to everybody because I was there for the long haul. It was just a moment in time. And I said, hey, you know what? I want to try something different. I'm a builder. This is an opportunity for me to try to build again. If you know anything about Alex, our CEO, Alex Dunn, I mean, he was one of the founders of Vivint here in Utah. I mean, built a $10 billion company, built another $5 billion company. I mean, the man is a savant. I mean, he is just understands business and people and markets to a degree that I can only hope of achieving at some point. But we sit in meetings, and I mean, he challenges me to such a deep level that I think I wasn't getting challenged to at Dutch Bros, but I'm able to look at things maybe just a little bit differently and execute on a little higher level. I was able to execute at a great level at Dutch Bros, but again, once you're public, they try to build the risk out of the business. They get pretty risk adverse because they don't want to disrupt the opportunity for profitability and things of that nature. Here we have a little more flexibility. We can try new things. I'm actually really excited. Some things that we have kind of baked to try next couple of years here. So I always say that the word cult is in culture. We're going to build another cult here at Swig that will, increase the culture and kind of help us move forward. So yeah, it's exciting.
And not that we need an airing of grievance festives here or something, right? But tell us about something you did wrong and then how you learned mistake.
I do things wrong every single day. I learn every single day. I never stop learning. Listen, I probably the biggest mistake I made was when I was at McDonald's. We had there's actually two incidents at McDonald's. You go out and you do borings on your job site.
Soil boring.
Soil borings. Thank you. And the first one we punched all over the site, and probably didn't punch enough holes. And just for people listening, if the equipment's already out there, it's cheap to punch more holes. So it's better to punch more holes than less.
It is like Swiss cheese to some degree, right?
It is.
Because you're just trying to guess at where there might be a problem.
There might be an issue, yeah. So, and literally the first scoop on the first site, they grabbed a car out of the ground. And it was an old dump site. And the funny thing is they had coil, like wire coiled up and thrown on the ground. They had to clamp it off and cut the pieces because if they cut it, it could unravel and, kill somebody. Right. And so they had to actually clamp it all off, and they were cutting pieces of cutting pieces off. And, it was the same. It was another McDonald's job where, the groundwater table was a little higher in one area where were we going to put the building?
Yeah.
A small problem.
Naturally.
But everywhere else it was fine, but it just happened to be in that corner.
Right.
But, listen, those are things that just happen in this business. I tell everyone, please have a good sense of humor because this business will eat you alive, and you got to be able to pivot quickly and make some fast decisions. And, one of those, I don't recall which one it was about, and this was back in the 80s, was probably a $250,000 mistake, which was a lot of money back then. So still a lot of money today. But so fortunately, you got enough people in the business that had been doing it a long time that had my back. But it's just one of those things that happens in the course of real estate. So I always say what makes me an expert is mistakes. I've made more mistakes than I care to count. It's just if you keep repeating them, that's foolish, right? So you got to learn from your mistakes and make a mental note of like, hey, I've got to go that extra mile. I mean, listen, when some of the developments that we've done here at Swig were not up to par with what I would do, and so we're paying the price for those right now. Again, it's just part of the process. There is experience that comes with this job. Lean into people that have strong mentors, have a great network like United Network. I talk to Aaron Harris still. I mean, he's a good friend. If I have a question on a deal or something that's not sitting right, I'll pick up the phone and call. If I have something on the construction side, I reach out to Don Eichler. I have people in this business that I've worked with for years that I still talk to this day. And the funny thing is, competitors or not, they're more than happy to help you. Nobody wants to see other people fail for the most part. We're not sharing trade secrets, but we are sharing trade experiences. And I think that there's a lot of advantage to that.
What a great message. I think that's a great way. And I appreciate your time today, Dan. Good to hear your story. And thanks for bringing the world your delicious drinks. There you go.
Thank you. And take care. Thank you.